Meghan is in California right now, and you're here, and there's articles left and right about what is happening with these two.
If Meghan Markle's worried that her royal exile husband is about to get the boot from America, she's not showing it. Questions raised about Prince Harry facing the possibility of being deported back to the UK.
Archie's birth, Lily's true status, and Meghan's tangled web of lies. This isn't just gossip, it's a storm of deception unraveling before our eyes. Vanity Fair's latest report tried to expose the truth, but it barely skimmed the surface of a much darker reality. Meghan's carefully built image is starting to crack, and people are finally seeing what's been hiding beneath the royal curtain. But what if everything we thought we knew about her children and her role in the palace was just another illusion? Tune in, because the real story is so shocking it caused massive outrage across the UK. What really happened with Vanity Fair? The real question isn't why people are turning on them now, it's why it took this long. From the moment Meghan stepped into royal life, she and Harry made it clear they'd only deal with journalists on their terms. They claimed they wanted fresh voices, new perspectives, yet somehow only the most favorable outlets got access. Promises were made, and then, like so much else in their world, quickly abandoned. The British press had bent over backward to embrace Meghan, hoping she'd bring a fresh, modern energy to the monarchy. Instead, they got someone who seemed to expect deference, not scrutiny. And when that didn't happen, the backlash was inevitable. Before we dig deeper, it's clear that the truth behind Meghan, Archie, and Lily is far more twisted than anyone expected, and what comes next will leave you speechless. Take the infamous Vanity Fair feature from before the engagement, her first real taste of the media playing by its own rules rather than hers. At the time, she was still an actress on the fringes, best known for Suits and her lifestyle blog. Yet somehow she managed to land a coveted cover, swathed in designer gowns and speaking wistfully of her love story with Prince Harry. It should have been the perfect moment, a carefully staged introduction to the wider world. But as soon as it hit the stands, the complaints started rolling in. She, it turned out, wasn't thrilled with how much the piece focused on Harry rather than her own charitable work. The palace, meanwhile, was blindsided because according to sources, the way she'd pitched it to them was very different from what actually appeared in print. This, of course, is the core of her playbook. Create a narrative, then shift the goalposts when it no longer serves her. The Vanity Fair article wasn't supposed to be about a romance. It was meant to highlight her philanthropy, or so she claimed, but anyone who understands how these high-profile magazine deals work knew better. Vanity Fair doesn't do puff pieces about minor TV actresses dabbling in charity. They do exclusives. They want a hook, a headline, something that will make people pick up the magazine. She gave them Harry, whether she intended to or not. And once it was clear that the palace wasn't entirely on board, she had to pivot, fast. By the time the dust settled, she had distanced herself from the entire thing, acting as though she had no idea the media would frame it the way they did. Yet those inside the industry knew better. Hollywood operates on calculated moves, and despite later claims of naivety, she was no amateur. She understood the power of exposure, the necessity of controlling the narrative. If the relationship had fizzled out, she would have walked away as the tragic heroine, the woman who almost became a princess. And if it continued? Well, she had just established herself as a global figure, someone far bigger than a legal drama on basic cable. The palace, meanwhile, wasn't just surprised, they were furious. Not because she had spoken to the press, but because of how it had been framed. She had reassured them that it was nothing to worry about, just a casual chat about her charity efforts. But Vanity Fair doesn't operate on good intentions. They work on exclusives, on bombshells, on selling copies. So when the magazine hit the stands, showcasing a love-struck woman gushing over Harry, it wasn't just the press who took notice. The royal family saw it for what it was, a strategic move that put them on the back foot, forced into publicly acknowledging a relationship they were still evaluating behind closed doors. This wasn't a mistake, it was a calculated risk. She had put them in a position where they had to react, ensuring that the relationship was now front-page news in a way that couldn't be ignored. And in doing so, she had already set the tone for what was to come: manipulation, careful leaks, and a constant battle over who controlled the narrative. It's a pattern that would repeat itself again and again, from the engagement announcement to the wedding to the eventual fallout. Every time a controversy arose, she played innocent, claiming she had no idea how things got so out of control. But when you trace the steps back, the fingerprints are always there. And then, of course, there's Archie and Lilibet, the two names that have become almost mythical in their absence. Rarely seen, often spoken about in hushed tones, these children are more concept than reality to the public. The Sussex camp insists on privacy, yet dangles just enough intrigue to keep people guessing. Why the secrecy? Why the conflicting stories? With other royal children, there's a clear narrative, a balance between protecting their privacy and acknowledging their role in public life. With Archie and Lilibet, things are murkier. From odd birth announcements to questionable timelines, nothing quite adds up. And when things don't add up, people start asking questions. Just when it seems like the stories couldn't get worse, the truth starts slipping out, and the people who know them best begin to talk. The stories that don't add up. The issue with this couple isn't just the scandals, it's the inconsistencies. Time and time again, their words don't match their actions. They demand privacy but court the press when it suits them. They claim to be misunderstood, yet repeatedly burn bridges with those who once supported them. At some point, the carefully constructed image starts to crumble, revealing not a pair of wronged innocents, but two people who have mastered the art of playing the victim. They are always making headlines, and let's be real, the stories keep getting messier. One moment, they're praised as hardworking. The next, someone's exposing a different reality. Take Josh Settler, for example. This guy was supposed to be their big PR champion, ready to lift their brand to new heights. Then, just before a crucial royal tour, he quits. Strange timing, right? Josh's sudden departure wasn't just a quiet exit, it came with whispers about difficulties behind the scenes. Yet, not long after, he praised their work ethic. Really? Because last time we checked, their charity efforts barely make up one workday a month. Not exactly groundbreaking. And he's not alone. Others like Ben Brown and a former PR employee also shared conflicting experiences. Some say they were a dream to work with. Others say it was chaos. But here's where it gets interesting. All these people work in PR, an industry where keeping things hidden is part of the job. If you spill the truth, you're blacklisted. So are these glowing reviews genuine or just professionals making sure they stay employable? Then there's the elephant in the room. If they were such fantastic bosses, why do so many people keep running for the exits? Josh only stuck around for 3 months. Let's break that down. Take away time to settle in, and he barely had a chance to do anything before calling it quits. And yet later on, he suddenly had only good things to say. Sounds like someone trying to keep doors open in the PR world. The same goes for the Spotify debacle. The company's CEO straight up called them grifters. Other insiders claimed they had no original ideas and just wanted credit for everyone else's work. But at the same time, a few hand-picked ex-employees described them as generous and wonderful. So which is it? And why do the ones who leave quietly later feel the need to publicly defend them? This is the same pattern over and over again. They get slammed with bad press, but out of nowhere, a few voices appear to balance the narrative. And every time, the people singing their praises seem to have a professional reason to stay in their good graces. It's hard to ignore the possibility that some of them are only saying nice things because they need a solid reference or don't want to burn bridges. And let's not forget the ones who aren't speaking out at all. If everyone who left had a glowing experience, wouldn't there be a lot more defenders coming forward? Instead, it's just a select few, while the rest seem happy to stay silent or let the bad press speak for itself. And then there's the acting career excuse. She has long insisted that she had no choice but to leave Hollywood behind once she joined the royal family. But hold on, let's go back in time. Princess Grace of Monaco walked away from acting voluntarily. Rita Hayworth left the industry when she became a princess, also by choice. Yet this time, the story was different. She claimed she was forced to quit. But was she really? Because according to Harry, the royal family simply couldn't afford to keep up with her lifestyle. That's a very different story than the one she told Oprah. Which version are we supposed to believe? She also claimed she had no clue what she was getting into with the royal family. She said she was blindsided by the expectations, the traditions, the workload, but when she first got engaged, she told the BBC that she was ready to hit the ground running. She couldn't wait to start working as a royal. So which one is it? Was she completely unprepared, or was she eager to embrace royal duties? Because those two versions don't add up. It's the same pattern, stories shifting depending on the audience. At this point, it's clear that the couple's PR strategy involves a lot of selective storytelling. The contradictions keep piling up. People who once worked closely with them either leave without a word or later show up with suspiciously glowing testimonials. When faced with criticism, they shift the narrative. And with every new interview, documentary, or book, the details keep changing. Time and time again, their version of events contradicts itself. And yet they keep trying to control the narrative, painting themselves as misunderstood and unfairly targeted. It soon becomes clear that being part of the royal family wasn't just about rules, it was about control. The wedding claim that wasn't true. When she entered royal life, she probably thought she had won the ultimate golden ticket. The jewels, the designer outfits, the luxury lifestyle, everything was pouring into Kensington Palace like a never-ending VIP package. But then came the shocker. She wasn't allowed to keep the lavish gifts. Royal protocol dictated that freebies from designers and wealthy admirers were a no-go. Apparently, she couldn't wrap her head around this. And here's where the cracks started showing. She tried to argue the logic behind it. If she was wearing something, wasn't she promoting it anyway? Shouldn't she be able to profit from it? But the royal family had long-standing rules about this kind of thing. To them, being a duchess wasn't about making money. It was about service. She, on the other hand, seemed to view it as a brand opportunity. And when she realized she couldn't monetize her new title, she started looking for ways to bend the rules. Then there was the whole acting career debate. Some claim Harry told her she could keep working as an actress, but that was never actually on the table. The Queen, in her wisdom, knew she was an independent woman used to calling the shots. So she supposedly suggested easing her into royal duties slowly. Maybe let her work part-time at first, get used to the role before diving in completely. It was a smart move. After all, she had built a life outside the palace walls, but that wasn't enough. She wanted the full royal treatment right away, without restrictions, and Harry, eager to please, went along with it. Things got even more tangled when she claimed in a high-profile interview that she was clueless about royal life before marrying Harry. That's a hard sell considering she had followed the family for years and even wrote about them in her old blog. The contradictions kept piling up. When the palace asked if she wanted to continue acting in some way, maybe voiceover work or charity projects, she flat out refused. Yet behind the scenes, her showsuits was still trying to keep her on board. So which was it? Was she done with acting or was she holding on to it as a backup plan? Then came the drama over the wedding. The grand royal ceremony was a global spectacle, but later she claimed she and Harry had a confidential wedding days before. That claim was quickly debunked by the Archbishop of Canterbury himself, who awkwardly admitted that whatever private exchange they had wasn't legally binding. The fact that she used this supposed confidential wedding to sell her interview made things even messier. And despite publicly embarrassing the Archbishop, neither she nor Harry ever bothered to apologize for putting him in that position. Then there's the money. She allegedly struggled to understand why she couldn't just buy and own whatever she wanted as a duchess. The idea that she had to rely on royal funding and that this money came with strings attached didn't sit well with her. There were whispers that the palace tried to set clear financial expectations, but she had other plans. When headlines later claimed she was too expensive for the royal family, it wasn't about her personal spending, it was about the ripple effect of her demands and the media storm that followed. The final nail in the coffin was the birth of Archie. Unlike traditional royal births, where everything is well documented, she and Harry were oddly secretive. They went to great lengths to keep details under wraps, fueling speculation about why they were being so evasive. Was it about control, privacy, or something else entirely? This secrecy just added fuel to the growing distrust around them. Looking back, it seems the Queen saw all of this coming. She had tried to give her room to adjust, but a slow introduction wasn't what she wanted. She wanted full control. The idea of stepping into a centuries-old institution and playing by its rules didn't sit well. She wanted to redefine the role, reshape the system, and turn it into something that worked for her. The problem? The royal family doesn't operate that way. January is a tough month for many people, especially those waiting for their first paycheck after holiday spending. But just when you think relief is coming, the tax bill arrives to wipe out any sense of joy. It's a vicious cycle that repeats every year. That same sense of frustration and confusion applies to the never-ending drama surrounding the couple, particularly when it comes to the birth of their first child, Archie. From the start, there was a level of secrecy that made people raise their eyebrows. But nothing was more confusing than Archie's birth, where every detail seemed unclear, making people wonder what they didn't want others to know. The royal baby no one saw coming. They initially claimed they wanted a home birth. Then suddenly reports surfaced that Archie was actually born at Portland Hospital. The switch-up left many wondering what was going on behind the scenes. Harry's version of events, as written in his book, added more questions than answers. He described the birth in an almost comical way, focusing on his own reactions rather than providing clarity on what really happened. Meanwhile, she, who usually loves the spotlight, stayed oddly quiet about the experience. The secrecy around the hospital stay made things even murkier. Women who give birth, especially first-time mothers, are usually kept in the hospital for at least a day or two for monitoring. Yet, according to Harry, Meghan was back home almost immediately, looking flawless and sitting for a picture that raised even more suspicions. Medical professionals questioned the timeline, with some pointing out that hospitals rarely discharge new mothers that quickly, especially those over the age of 30 who are often considered geriatric mothers by medical standards. Yet Meghan seemed to have skipped all the usual post-birth procedures with ease. Adding to the confusion was the reaction from Portland Hospital itself. Behind closed doors, they reportedly weren't pleased with how the birth was portrayed. The suggestion that Meghan had simply walked out against medical advice didn't sit well with the institution's reputation. Hospitals have strict policies for post-birth care, and Meghan's alleged speedy exit didn't line up with standard procedures. Why was this part of the story being glossed over? And why did Harry seem more concerned with dramatizing his own role in the experience rather than clarifying the facts? This isn't the first time Meghan and Harry have manipulated a story to fit their narrative. They have a pattern of presenting events in ways that raise more questions than they answer. Meghan, in particular, has a history of shaping situations to her advantage. Whether it's her sudden friendships with influential people, her strategic media moves, or her ability to drop connections when they no longer serve her, she plays the game well. She knows how to charm her way into circles that benefit her, only to discard them once she's gotten what she needs. Look at the people who have come and gone from Meghan's life. From Jessica Mulroney, once a close friend and stylist, to various London socialites, she cycled through relationships like stepping stones. Each connection served a purpose, helping her climb higher, gain more visibility, and strengthen her public image. But once she was established, many of those friendships strangely faded away. It's a pattern that speaks volumes. The royal family likely saw this from the start. The Queen, ever wise, probably had her doubts about Meghan's intentions. That's why she reportedly suggested easing Meghan into royal duties slowly. The idea was to let her adjust rather than throwing her into full-time royal responsibilities right away. But Meghan wasn't interested in playing by the palace's rules. She wanted control. And when she realized she couldn't have it, she and Harry spun a narrative that painted them as victims rather than acknowledging that royal life simply wasn't what they expected. And let's not forget the so-called confidential wedding Meghan and Harry claimed to have before their official royal ceremony. That claim was quickly debunked as the Archbishop of Canterbury himself clarified that the private exchange was not legally binding. Yet Meghan used that fabricated story to add more intrigue to her interview, making it seem as though she and Harry had defied royal traditions in some rebellious romantic gesture. In reality, it was just another attempt to reshape the truth. Back to Archie's birth. Why so much secrecy? Why the conflicting stories? The palace had been transparent about other royal births, but Meghan and Harry handled theirs as if they were guarding national security secrets. The lack of clear answers only fueled speculation. And when people ask questions, Meghan and Harry have a habit of blaming the media instead of addressing the inconsistencies in their own stories. One thing is clear, Meghan understands public perception better than most. She knows how to control a narrative and position herself as the misunderstood outsider. But the problem with constantly shifting stories is that people start noticing the contradictions. And when those contradictions pile up, credibility starts to crumble. The way Meghan and Harry have navigated their public image is a masterclass in media manipulation. But no matter how carefully they craft their stories, inconsistencies have a way of catching up. The birth of Archie was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but instead it became another example of the strange, secretive, and often misleading way Meghan and Harry operate. And with every new revelation, the real question remains: what exactly are they trying to hide? Is Meghan Markle's story just misunderstood, or has she masterfully built a life of deception to control the narrative? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.